ball and no one let the wind guide me. I used to do that. It was kind of nice. It was also kind of hard, but it was kind of nice.
Almost done.
Don't plug me, Kyle. Every time I hardly ever stream, and the reason I hardly ever stream is because every time I stream, I wind up having a mental breakdown on stream. That's cool. I'm glad it was a symbiotic thing. I know if a dev came into my chat and was like telling me what to do, I would kind of be honestly a little upset. But I'm just a tryhard, so but that is really cool, Dottie. Bleh. I assume that they're a pretty nice person to talk to. Oh, okay, so they were in the game with you. They weren't just like in chat, they were in the game. That's amazing. That is awesome. That's fantastic.
Hey. I'm
Hey.
just getting stuff off so that you can sit over here when I get back to playing. If that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just so the webcam can see me. Do we need more water in the water bottle?
Up to you.
Okay.
I think we're fine though.
We'll go ahead and get some more water. Yeah, it's doing
Alright.
It's fine. There's plenty of water.
Cool, cool.
Right. Okay. Sorry I'm not using your controller. I prefer motion controls for Splatoon.
No, I get it. Splatoon was one of those games made with like the motion control and tablet in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with ARMS. Like controversially, ARMS should not be played with buttons.
Probably played ARMS, so I took to get around to that.
Everyone hated ARMS, and I'm not sure why. It was such a cool game.
Can I,
No.
Thank you for talking with chat while I went and go bathroomed.
Yeah.
Feel free to sit over here if you like.
I'm just grabbing my tablet and petting the cat.
Oh, okay.
Mark deserves attention.
You're right. So did I get a friend request since I put my screen up?
That's right up now. I have no idea.
Let's see. Yeah, I did get friend requests. Cool. Very cool. Become friends. You mind if I stalk your profile to see
you play Super Bullet Break? I love that game.
I haven't played it, but I watched Julia play it. It looks really fun.
I mean, okay, I love that game as a stretch, but like seeing someone who actually played that game.
Wow, that's a lot of hours of Splatoon 2. I needed to play more Splatoon 2. In many ways, that's still my favorite of the series. But I'm biased because I really like Pearl.
I got Bullet Break because I keep looking for single-player gacha games. And it wasn't a single-player gacha game, but the theming was close enough that I still really enjoyed it. They really went all out with the varying art styles, the themes, the story bits on each and every card, the swimsuit and holiday variants.
Thanks, Saudi.
Oh shit, you got a physical copy, nice.
See, there we go. Alright, feel free to join me.
But no, Super Bullet Break
An art
is
book.
Super Bullet Break is something fantastic. It is super high quality. It's a shame Super Bullet Break is not more popular than it is.
I watched you play it. It did look like a ton of fun. Like, I do want to play that sometime. My moods are just extremely capricious.
Sometimes when I turn on Super Bullet Break, I'm not gonna lie, I just leave it on the title screen for a while and just jam to like the cute music and watch.
Understandable.
And as it like goes through all of the rooms and stuff, it's so good.
Momo, are you joining? Oh my gosh, squats. Okay, fine. One moment, please. I need to do some exercise anyway. Hard. Squats. Place where there's room. Hi, Mark. Hey, bud. Just giving me legs. Mark. I went over to give Mark pets and he licked me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Does my form look good?
That's good enough. I mean, if you're not hurting after you've done them, you're probably doing okay.
Okay, back. Guess no one else is joining right now. Let's see, is it this way? Yeah. Alright, I did 10 squats. Healthy. Getting exercise.
I know, I can do. What the shit, biscuits? Why is my... Oh, fuck, that's why.
What's up?
Oh, my phone's at like 5% battery.
Oh, jeez. Here, plug this in. Oh, wait, you can't. I'm sorry.
It's alright, don't worry about it.
Do you know where the, pad for it is?
Yeah, it's upstairs. Don't worry, don't freak out, it's just 5%.
I would freak out at 5%. Your phone is it too? Oh my god, charge your phone. Oh my god, charge your phone. Poor phone. Phone-kun! Shikarisa! Oof. Hey, Julia. When you get back, would you be in the mood to talk about Shadowrun at all? I mean, if you don't want to, you don't have to. I just know you're really passionate about that.
Mark, come on. Come on, Mark. Are we gonna be a good boy? Are we gonna be a good boy? Get out bathroom?
Ow. So, remember when I told- oh, sorry. I'll wait for you to do that.
Sorry. Getting Mark out of the bathroom was
Understandable, we can't have him going into the dark and forbidden corners and end up in Narnia. Question. You know how I told you that part of the influence for me wanting to play an E-Ghost was, not just Makoto Kusanagi, but also Aura from Dot Hack and also Cyber Elves? Yay, victory.
Right.
In the Matrix, are there MMORPGs?
Yeah.
Could an E-Ghost feasibly exist within an MMO?
Yeah. Although they'd probably get noticed really quickly.
Oof.
Although apparently it would be a lot like Aura, where they can try to force her out, but they can't kill her.
I was thinking, a concept not entirely like Aura, but like a mixture, because Aura was intentionally designed by Harold Warwick as like a daughter replacement. But Tsukasa was just stuck. So I was wondering if I could go with like the ever popular angle of stuck in an MMO sort of thing. So I could do the concept of a little robot fairy, but instead it would become a little AI E-Ghost fairy.
Good night, Mugen.
Hi, Kazu.
Good night.
See you.
Good night, Mugen. Good night, Kazuo.
Yeah, good night, Kazu. Good night, Mugen. Sleep well. This is Sword Art Online? No. No, Dot Hack was clearly influential on Sword Art Online, though. Like, I think that, here's my opinion on Sword Art Online as someone who only knows a little bit about Sword Art Online. Dot Hack ran so Sword Art Online could walk. What do you think of that, Julia?
Did Sword Art Online even manage to walk?
Well, it certainly got very successful. Way more successful than Dot Hack ever got. So a lot of properties, including Dot Hack and Sword Art Online, and Log Horizon for that matter, and others, have the whole stuck in an MMO theming, right? So, not to be too derivative, but I thought if I could do a concept, since fairies exist in this world, what if there was a fairy girl who was playing a popular Matrix MMORPG, and while she was playing, had a heart attack and died, but her spirit got stuck as an E-Ghost in the MMO. Like, her consciousness was able to persevere and continue playing while her body died and decomposed.
See, I am not entirely sure. So first of all, pixies don't die like that.
Oh, okay.
When a pixie dies, they just kind of poof. Because pixies are magical creatures.
Would a fairy be able to create any ghosts, or is that not possible?
That's a good question. Okay, night-night for real, Mugen.
Yeah, night-night for real. Bye-bye now. I would like to know if a fairy can leave an e-ghost.
Well, here's the thing, right? Even if someone left an e-ghost,
Mm-hmm.
their persona is different from their physical form. I mean, it can be the same thing if you want to be boring. But, you know, most people will have a customized persona that's at least, like, you know, something they bought off of, you know, whatever store that's interesting.
I'm sure that their real-life form could at least be influenced. Or that their digital form, their digital avatar could at least be influenced by some degree by their form. But not be necessarily the same.
I mean, there's no reason pixies can't access the Matrix. There's no reason they can't use, Hold Sim VR.
Ask on our Shadowrun. I could. Haven't logged into my Reddit account in a long time because I don't like Reddit. Like, I don't like Twitter either, but I dislike Reddit to the point where it's like outright just abandoning my accounts in disgust.
So here's the thing. First of all, there'd have to be a reason why someone became an e-ghost. And second of all, one thing that you're gonna have... a pixie would not usually be in... Well, actually, you know what? I don't know. Some things have changed in 6th edition where apparently pixies are now standard characters, as opposed to 5th edition and 4th edition where they're like, kind of, yeah, you can play them, but they're like, you know... So, I don't know. I do need to pick up 6th edition books, because, I was thinking at first, like, nah, I probably only want 5E and 4A, but the thing about 6th edition that it does really well, in spite of everything that it does horribly wrong, is that each of the source books are not, here's a core rulebook, here's a magic rulebook, here's a cyberware rulebook. I mean, I think they do have those, but what they do is they have rulebooks for each, like, they have rulebooks for different settings and scenarios. It's no longer super Seattle-centric. They have rulebooks that are, like, whole, like, core rulebooks for different cities. And that's actually really cool. What I've heard is that 6E was a dumpster fire to begin with, but they've ironed out a lot of the things that made it kind of bad, and that while there are a lot of really crappy rules problems, 6E actually did a lot lore-wise that was pretty cool. I can't tell you 100% if it's something you'd like. I've just heard that there are people who snuck with it and found value in the system, and I believe that. Honestly, I was still thinking about picking up 6E, and just converting stuff to 5e rules anyway. The real problem is I don't have enough money to buy all of the new 6e stuff, and then go and buy the 4a stuff I don't have either.
Golden Cream says it was like on the level of
read chat, Len.
Oh, okay. You're using your tablet for that. Derp,
Right.
derp.
Also, D&D 4e was great. I don't understand the hate at all. In fact, guess what Pathfinder 2 is based on?
Hey, Sergeant Tin Man. Thanks again for your donation like last week or whatnot. That was super generous. Helped me out a lot financially. Like, I don't want to even think about how bad this month's finances would be if it weren't for the money I got back then.
The only, like, the difference between 4e and... or D&D 4 and, Shadowrun 6 is that 4e, I can see how people thought it was dumb and unfun and unbalanced. In 6th edition Shadowrun, stats literally didn't even matter. Like, that was the major issue, is that stats didn't matter. And that was a problem.
Ouch. Well, I lost that duel.
There was the famous, there's the famous review that said, a naked baby has just as much defensive power as an armored up Street Sam.
Yeah, that is kind of silly. Definitely don't want a situation where a random baby is able to go toe-to-toe with Adam Smasher. I don't know why you laughed at that. Do you know what that's a reference to?
No.
Oh. It is the big bad antagonist of sorts. In Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
I see.
I'm not gonna say much more because everything Adam Smasher is and does is massive end of show spoilers. Let's just say he's a dangerous dude.
But, I did hear they've done some revised combat rules in 6e. And even then, what I've really heard is the strength of 6e is that the setting is phenomenal. And even just from looking at the rulebooks, like, and what they are, as opposed to, like, actually, I don't even have to look at what's inside. I think that since there's such a focus on lore, you can still buy them and get a lot out of them, even if what you do is, like, you port the rules backwards to 5th edition or 4th edition, which I might, because I'll bet you anything that 6th edition probably doesn't use point buy. It probably uses an extension of the priority system, and personally, I prefer the point buy system over priority, even though priority is easier to learn. Just because, like, Shadowrun is all about that whole being an individual, and point buy lets you be as individual as you can be.
May I respond to something real quick?
Yeah.
Maybe it has been like a month since you gave me that money. It feels like less, like a couple weeks. But regardless, you really saved me last month. Like, finances were tight, and you helped me pull through at the last second there. So, I don't even want to think where my finances would be at right now without that donation you gave me. You really saved me there. Thank you.
Thankfully, so far, short of any emergencies, we should be fine this month.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold my breath, but so far, we're lined up to afford groceries. We're lined up to. We've already paid our utilities.
Yeah.
We've already bought all the big purchases we need for the month. And, then...
What's up?
I just wanted to tell you to launch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was reading chat a little bit long while playing the game. Fair.
And, we've also got a little bit of extra money coming in. No shill, but really, thank you to the subscribers, because that gives us a little extra room in case we need things like shampoo.
Yeah. But still, finances are fairly tight this month. And it would have been even worse if I didn't get that donation last month.
We are actually doing pretty good this month. Hopefully not jinxing it, but we're doing pretty alright.
Really? I thought you were extremely scared that we couldn't even afford your medication.
Oh, right. I tried to forget about that part.
Sorry.
No,
We'll do something about that.
Well, the good news is my mom said that apparently it's a thing that's happening to a lot of people, because of some kind of computer error.
Oh, okay. Well, then that might be fixable.
Yeah.
But we also need that fixed soon so we can get your medication affordably.
Yeah, no. Tomorrow I need to call them and say, hey, my insurance was dropped, what gives?
Yeah, please do. I know you were too anxious to do it yesterday, but we do need to get on that.
I'm doing better.
I'm glad.
Episode is over.
So on Shadowrun, you were saying part of the issue with, fairy e-ghosts is that, number one, fairies are pretty non-standard to play as, just like e-ghosts. And that we don't know a ton about fairies and whether they e-ghost a lot.
I mean, forget about playing. Look in terms of the setting. Fairies are creatures that primarily came out of magic forests. Unlike metahumans, they are not a magically awakened form of humanity. They are purely magical beings. So for them, there's a much bigger connection to magic than there is machine.
Do they use the Matrix?
They can. There's nothing saying they can't. The issue, at least as of 5th edition rules, I don't know 6th edition, but in 5th edition rules, fairies have a natural magic stat that if you accept any form of augmentation, will cause them to lose magic. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean anything, because you don't need an implant to use, Cold Sim VR, or even Hot Sim VR via Comlink. But, sorry, my brain just stopped working for a second. Hang on, reboot. My point being that, lore-wise, I don't see why most fairies would want to spend... Pixies would be the technical term. I don't see why most pixies would want to spend a lot of time online.
So, canonically, fairies or pixies don't care a lot about VR.
There's nothing saying they can't, and obviously integrating into metahuman society means interacting with some of these things. It's not that they can't, it's not that they won't. The idea of an MMO addict pixie just kind of makes me go,
I see. I guess if we don't want to go with that backstory, we don't have to. I just thought it would be an amusing backstory in a way for me to have my cake and eat it too. Is to be like, play a fairy in a sense, but not really, because she's just turned into an e-ghost because she died.
I didn't say that you couldn't.
Okay.
I didn't, like, it's not impossible, it just goes against what my brain's first instinct is when I think Pixie.
Well, maybe I'll change my mind if I read more about pixies.
It
Maybe.
seems like in 6th edition, they're more integrated into metahuman society, so it may be worth reading the 6th edition book and getting back to you on that point.
For sure.
Because as to 5th edition, what the rules and lore is that we don't fucking know anything about pixies. We know they exist, we know that they're meta-sapients, we know that they can be a part of our society and whatnot, but the lore is as of 5th edition. We don't know shit about pixies. They're as mysterious to us as what happens behind the walls of Cir Nanov. Not so much Tir Tairngire anymore, because Tir Tairngire opened its borders.
The dice rolling bot to chat. Should I? And what would I do with the dice roll? I need to add a lot of things to my stream that I keep procrastinating. Like, a lot of sound rewards would be good. And yet I never get around to doing that. That sucks. We were doing well at first. Oh well.
But, it is absolutely not impossible. It's just more of a... How do I put this?
It's out there.
Yeah, it's, to me, knowing what I know, it's kind of like the idea of, like, a shaman MMO addict.
A techno shaman, if you will.
No, those are different. Those exist, but those are different. But, like, shamans are obviously supposed to have a strong connection to nature and everything, so, like, it's not that they wouldn't use the Matrix and everything, like they said, but, like, why would they spend hours and hours and hours grinding out an MMO? It's not impossible, it's just weird.
Sorry, my ideas seem to be very not meshing well with the setting, and I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Like I said, there's nothing that says you can't, and 6th edition rules about pixies may have changed everything. Because pixies are... One of the few things I do know about 6th edition is that pixies are now, like, standard as part of the, as part of the core rules. They're standard.
It's good. Justice for pixies.
Aww. Look at that sleepy baby. Look at that sleepy baby over there. But I'm not saying no. I'm not saying no at all. And I'm sorry if it came across that way.
It's okay. I understand that my ideas tend to be weird and often based on ignorance of the settings.
And often based.
No, very based. Based and pixie pilled. So hey, speaking of based and pilled.
She is Korra. She is Lyn's favorite character of all time.
I don't know about that, but I do like her a lot.
Flan from Disgaea.
I do like Flan a lot. That favorite character of all time, maybe not, but I like Flawn a lot. I like Flawn a lot. She was one of the inspirations for my OC Maria. Thing is that I don't know as much about Shadow. I've watched some YouTube videos about it. I've read some about Shadowrun, but not that much. I've also asked you a bunch of times to send me some links to some PDFs of Shadowrun so I can read some, but that hasn't happened yet.
I'm sorry. I should send them to you. I have a Google Drive full of them. Unfortunately, like, stuff like Ramu's is kind of, difficult to find. I found a Ramu's alternative the other day, but it didn't have as much new stuff on it. It had a lot of the old stuff, but it didn't have much new stuff, so, like, I really wasn't able to get much of anything for 6th edition, so I kind of didn't bother, especially because it had really spotty connection issues, but that's aside everything we're talking about.
Oh yeah, we've taken the lead.
I miss Ramu's.
I know, she was a good Miko, but she's gone now. It's the age of Marisa. Why do you think that Shadowrun isn't more popular than it is? Is it because it doesn't, you know, as closely fit the fantasy setting of D&D as Pathfinder does?
So I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's a good deal of mismanagement by the owner, Catalyst Game Labs. It is a more complex system that's harder to get your friends into. You can go Dungeons and Dragons, be like, okay, pick your race, pick your class, alright, we're good to go. Right? With Shadowrun, it's like, okay, so first we start with the point-buy system. You have this many points. Now, you need to spend this many points to pick your race. This is how many each of them cost. These are the minimum and maximum stats each of them have. Now you're going to set everything to the minimum amount of stats, and you're going to spend your points equal to the amount of karma that it would take to raise each stat. You can only raise one stat to the maximum unless it's magic or resonance or edge. And then, if you want to be a magician or a technomancer, or an adept or whatever, you need to buy, you know, magician or adept or technomancer, and then after that, you need to spend points on buying skills, and then once you've done that, you need to exchange a certain amount of points for money. You are only allowed to carry a certain amount of money over into the game, and you're not allowed to carry any points of extra karma over into the game. Oh, right, and then you also need to make sure that you take positive and negative qualities.
Yeah, I didn't catch all that, but it sounds complicated. I see what you're talking about now. I need to play Disgaea 5, but I have not played it yet. It looks fun, though. I'm glad that you know of and have played some Disgaea.
And, the way I put it is far simpler than it actually is, because it's like...
I bet.
The only things that are simple are the parts where you buy stat points and choose your race. After that, there are tons of skills. There's tons of gear. And a lot of things that you have to keep in mind when you're doing stuff is setting. One of the things that Dungeons & Dragons does is say, fuck setting, just make it OC. With Shadowrun, everything has a setting bit to it just as much as it does stat blocks. Just as much as it does functionality. In Shadowrun, rules are more of a formality to guide how you to guide creativity in a way that someone doesn't become overpowered within the setting. Good night, Kyle.
Good night, Kyle. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have a chance to do more Wii U modding. Actually, maybe not. I don't know, hopefully soon. I was like, maybe hopefully we will, and then I realized, oh wait, we're dog sitting.
But Shadowrun is very, setting and roleplay first, rules second. Meanwhile, Dungeons & Dragons is very rules first. Even 5th edition is very rules first. And if you wonder why I say that, it's because you cannot break free of the class system and be an individual. Same problem I fucking had with Sword World. Which, I mean, Sword World was more flexible at first until you realized that melee characters were way oversimplified and inflexible.
Yeah, at that point, it might be best to make like a hybrid system between something like Pathfinder and Sword World. I was thinking that, you know, considering you know a decent bit about, you know, these things and you prefer Pathfinder to D&D, why not make a Pathfinder Sword World hybrid homebrew?
Look, I respect Pathfinder, but I don't like it. In terms of, I don't have fun with it that much. I don't have as much fun with it for the same reasons I don't have that much fun with D&D 5th edition. And a lot of it does have to do with the fact that I came from a Shadowrun background. Shadowrun was the first tabletop game that I really learned. And so going to anything with less flexibility feels disgusting to me. I'm like, well, wait, why? Just because I'm a monk, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to, like, why can't I take this power and not be, like, of this mindset? Or, like, why can't I take this feature of this subclass, but, you know, I don't want the rest of the features. And it's that, like, it gets to me at that point. And then it's like, with a lot of stuff, it's like, well, like, why does it really matter if I'm a warlock, or why does it matter if I'm an elf or not? Like, what's the whole purpose here? What's my place in society? Am I just Adol Kristen? I'm just an adventurer? What the fuck is an adventurer?
Yeah, the focus on the Adventurers Guild and Sword World was definitely a downside.
But it's still the same in Dungeons & Dragons, too, unless you have a Dungeon Master that really goes out of their fucking way to push the rules to their limits in order to make something that's a bit heavier on the roleplay side. And, like, I mean, even on the rules side, like, if you play just straightforward Dungeons & Dragons, no optional rules, no, like...
So close.
What the fuck? That's a ripoff.
I know.
Recount.
I know, right, Kuda? Anyway, as you were.
So with Dungeons & Dragons, I don't know what I'm supposed to be. I don't know why I'm supposed to be doing. Alright, the rules. Like, if you don't enforce rules that will, like, give certain classes a utility, they're just useless. Or at least, even if they're not useless, they're not really good for anything but flavor. And it's like, is that a problem? Not entirely, but it's kind of like, I heard a bit of the same argument in terms of, like, Final Fantasy XIV, where it's like, I don't know exactly how much I feel about this, because at the time I felt like it was bitching, and so now that I'm quoting it, I feel like I'm bitching, but like kind of the idea that every class should have its moment. Its moment where it, and only it, is what, you know, they're doing their thing, and it's what's carrying everyone through. It's not just a rote repetition, it's not just pushing buttons, it's something where you're actually doing and accomplishing something, and you feel like you're not just a major contribution, but a necessity to the team.
In terms of Final Fantasy XIV, I'll admit that they flattened the classes for balance. There used to be specific features that different tanks had, or different classes had, and most of those have been removed. Ironically, DPSs may have the most variety and utility, such as red mages who can res the party and do as much healing as like the white mages do. So red mage is like the off healer. But a lot of the uniqueness was removed for balancing and streamlining, and I'm one of the people who doesn't like that.
And the thing is, there's a lot of characters that do have uniqueness, and it isn't balanced unless you go out of your way to give rules unless you go out of your way to give rules a chance to flex. I did see that Kelly. I'm sorry I forgot to comment on it. I do know of the Xbox Shadowrun Arena shooter. I know a lot of people were disappointed in it because, like, oh, it's not really Shadowrun, but, you know, whatever.
I sure am doing a lot of losing. Oh, that Thai person looks like they belong in Shadowrun. Look at that Netrunner. Look at that Netrunner, Thai.
Mm.
Well, like, is that thing off?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
But, for sure, Dungeons and Dragons, it's just like, you have to make, like, really... You have to... First of all, some classes did need fixing. But even then, you really have to go out of your way to make a ranger valuable versus, like, a druid.
So then would you say that the best tabletop RPG today is Shadowrun?
I would say it's the one I prefer. I can see why a lot of people like D&D. I'm pretty sure for the most part, most people are not concerned about the fact that, well, my ranger can't, like, you know, go get food or anything because the druid just casts Goodberry and I feel useless. Like, most people don't care, most GMs don't care. No offense to neutral trauma, most GMs are like neutral trauma. We're just like, I want to make this campaign, I want everyone to have their cool superhero quips and whatnot, and then they, you know, go be cool with their class and their individuality stuff, and they have their little story moments. And that's about it, and that's what most roleplay tabletop people want and need. I am the niche, and that's part of why Shadowrun isn't more popular. It's a niche game for niche people.
All I know is that I like storytelling, but I'm not good at writing. Like, I have characters in my mind, not just Maria, but though she's the one I've been hyper-fixated on the past 2 years. And having a chance to, like, explore this character and get writing ideas is definitely my motivation. Like, my motivation is, I want to write a story, and role-playing gets me feeling like I can get my head into the game without having to deal with as much writer's block. It's like, There will be a story, whether you have writer's block or not. And I like that. I want to make characters. I do want to make characters. And maybe that's not how you should approach a role-playing game. I don't know.
It's niche, and I will die on that rock.
Is the way I approach tabletop games incorrect?
No. There's no incorrect way to approach a tabletop game. That's tabletop game 101. The only important rule about tabletop games is have fun. And if you're not having fun, then that's probably what's really wrong.
So you said that you don't think that the concept of fiends is comparable to Barbarous. Do you think there's any tabletop concept that approximates the idea of the Barbarous? Because that was the reason I went to the library and printed out a whole half of the book on Barbarous at the library. Was because I liked the Barbarous book. I liked the Barbarous.
They do too. That's fantastic. The closest thing I can think of, really, would be, I mean, because I don't play a whole lot of tabletop games, would be Shadowrun.
Okay, Shadowrun is fine. We don't have to focus on D&D or whatever.
Well, because orcs, the way orcs and trolls are treated in metahuman society, right?
Yeah.
Is the most similar thing I can think of. But even then, it's really not the same.
So basically, the concept of Barbarous is actually very unique.
It is extremely unique.
That makes me like that about Sword World even more. Some things
I
about
know.
Sword World suck. I'm not
know.
gonna lie, but the Barbarous concept, I love it.
I do too. The setting of Sword World is pretty great, aside from some dumb things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can go look back on the conversation I had with Ankuna about, like, just simple things that could be done to make melee players less dumb.
Again, I wouldn't mind homebrewing or hybridizing any of these games in order to make them better.
Also, one thing I really don't like about Sword World is that you are kind of mandatorily an adventurer.
Yeah, yeah. As someone who wanted to be something else, that definitely chafed with me.
And then if you aren't, you're some kind of thing called a vagrant. And you know, here's the thing, right? I think to a point, the class system is baked into the actual story of the game. Like, the reason that, because it's like literally, like, there's feats that only vagrants can do in the game, right? And then it actually goes on to deliver in a story bit that, like, maybe Fortuna is the reason that only vagrants can do these things, that these feats are the blessing of Fortuna. So it's almost like the limitations on physical characters probably have something to do with, like, just hand wavy, this is the power of the swords shit. Like, there is, I keep saying it over and over, there's no good reason that so many things are restricted to one class or another. But then they are, and it's questionable why. And then It seems that Sword...
Pardon me.
It seems that Sword World's answer to that is just... Well, that's just how it is. It's these things are the blessings of the power of the swords. Even, you know, people who fight with their fists or whatever. That's, you know, that's just how it is. That's just how it is. There's no getting around it. That's how it is.
Shikata ga nai desu yo.
What?
Shikata ga nai. Shikata ga nai yo.
Okay, whatever. I don't...
Oh, you're not familiar with that. Do you know what shikata ga nai means?
No, I don't, or I would have said something.
It is a very, very common phrasing in Japanese culture, like a saying that people constantly use, that means it can't be helped. It's one of the most common, like, phrases, and I'm not trying to, like... I'm just explaining it. I'm not trying to be like, wow, you don't know this. I'm just explaining it being a popular term. It's a very popular, like, culturally reflective saying that reflects a lot about Japanese culture called shigata ga nai, or it can't be helped. It's often said by people to imply that's just the way things are and it can't be changed. That's just the way things are done. It can't be helped.
That is exactly how I feel with that bullshit about Sword World.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry, Kelly, that's very relatable.
I wasn't saying it was a common phrasing to make you feel bad. I just explained that because I wanted to, like, express that it's a culturally relevant part of Japanese society, how common that term is used.
I know, it's just like the first time I said what, and then you even looked at me and I'm like...
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You just repeated it like, okay, fine.
I'm sorry. It was a miscommunication. I like some things. I don't know a ton about Pathfinder lore, aside from the fact that it shares a ton with and is based a lot on D&D lore, with a few select differences here and there, as far as I'm aware. But there are things that I like better about D&D lore, and there are things that I like better about Sword World lore. I think that the concept of the swords is super cool, but also can be limiting. Like, I wish that there were some important super beings beyond the gods, like Lumiere and such, and the gods like Lyphos, and the swords like Lumiere, Ignis, Cardia, and Fortuna. I think that that's a really interesting concept that D&D doesn't have, which is a nice original idea. But I feel like the universal lore on a grand scale is, probably due to it being older, is more fleshed out in Dungeons and Dragons, because I love watching videos about the Planescape and all of the areas. Is it perfect? No, because while it's an interesting explanation for and, like, expounding upon just how deep the alignment system can be, as flawed as it is, I still hate the fact that you're kind of pigeonholed between, like, lawful evil devils and chaotic evil demons. I think that's kind of annoying. But as a general, like, deep lore, I love reading about the Planescape. I love reading about the Lady of Pain. or watching videos or anything about that. I love reading about Elysium. I like reading about Beator. I think that these afterlife concepts are really, really neat, and I'm not aware of something comparable in Sword World. At the same time, I think that the very pigeonholed concept of like fiends and devils and demons is less interesting to me than the barbarous, who are more morally complex because of not being pigeonholed into the alignment system. Is that bad or weird?
Absolutely not.
Uh-huh. Do you disagree with what I said there at all?
I don't think the complications of the planes is a good thing, but I can understand why you'd like it.
What's wrong with the planescape exactly?
Like you said, it's super overly complicated.
I like the complexity to it. It feels deep. It feels like it's a lore-rich aspect of Dungeons and Dragons. As someone who likes that sort of thing and watches a ton of videos about the Silmarillion and has started reading it, it's just like, I love knowing about the Ainur and the Valor and the Eldar and so forth. It's just like, wow, I love this sort of thing. Give me more.
Well, I mean, there is plenty of lore in Sword World. A lot of it having to do with the... what would be called in D&D the physical plane. Because there is no weird other planes of existence.
I kind of wish there were other planes of existence to like tackle with. I mean, you can say there is to a degree. There's the Abyss, which is very similar in Sword World as to D&D.
The Abyss was apparently something created in 2.5.
Well, it's still definitely reminiscent of the D&D Abyss. Is it the same? No. But it seems familiar.
But, I mean, also, there's tons of gods in Sword World.
It is.
There's tons of, like, different, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, brain shut down again. There's tons of different places with different bits of lore and setting. It's, you know, one thing that I'd have to say that I find more interesting about Sword World than D&D.
What?
Where D&D tries to stack all of this stuff on these external planes because it's the only way they can have a solid setting that's consistent across everything else, because fuck why? I don't know. The thing about Sword World is that it's actually got an incredibly rich history to explore. Some of it to create, some of it to find. I mean, like in Sword World 2.5, how there's that entire city that's just built up and surrounding a collapsed ancient war mech that continues, that, like, people scavenge for old ancient Magitech in, and seems to continually produce mechanized soldiers as defense against intruders.
Yeah, I think that that concept is neat. There's a lot of cool locations. I think that the geographic locations on the map of Sword World are all very interesting.
But what I mean with that in particular is that, like, there's a rich history to that, and it's there to be found. It's not some distant planar entity with some kind of weird hierarchy in their own separated domain. It's the history of the world, and exploring the ruins and histories of whatever is left in the world, and trying to find whatever remnants of civilization can be saved. This isn't even the first time it's happened to the world.
I definitely like a lot about the lore of Sword World. I'm just saying there's parts of the D&D lore that I appreciate a lot and have gotten addicted to, and even some things I feel like I may like better. But, you're certainly welcome to disagree with, you know, that, or have a different feeling. Is there anything you like about the lore of D&D at all? I know you're not nuts about the D&D lore.
No?
There's nothing you like about the D&D lore?
I'd say there's a lot I'm ambivalent to. But really, the fact that the only consistent thing in the game is these abstract, hyper, one-dimensional realms is... It's the only consistent thing in the series.
Is that so? I wouldn't know because I don't know quite enough about D&D yet.
And there's stuff like Sword Coast and Ravenloft and I don't remember what else. And it's like those are interesting enough, I guess. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of some of them.
I know that I really like the Feywild, which is part of the Planescape as well. I'm guessing you're at least ambivalent towards the Feywild. But as a fairy who is proud of being a fairy, I think that the Feywild is cool, and I'm not at least aware. I haven't read all of the Sword World materials yet. Is there anything comparable to the Feywild in Sword World?
Not really, because like I said, there aren't other dimensions except for like the Abyss, which is its own weird thing. I mean, I guess, okay, wherever demons come from, which isn't necessarily the Abyss. I mean, like, it is and it isn't. Wherever demons come from, that's the only other plane of existence, and even then, nobody really knows what it's like on the other side there.
That's where the grass runners are supposedly possibly originated from. Like another realm through a wormhole through the abyss.
Yeah, that's a theory.
What can I say? I like some things about Sword World and I like some things about D&D. I do like the fact that being less focused on planes of existence and more about how the fairies and the barbarous exist and have societies on the material plane, which is what Sword World is focused on, makes the material plane more interesting and diverse. Is something I'll say.
And then they kill that interest in diversity by pigeonholing you into having to be an adventurer.
Yup. Can't just be a cloistered acolyte, abbey-going person who does things for the church. You gotta be an adventurer. I mean, that's me because I'm biased because that's my obsessive OC. But it applies to a lot of things equally.
There are just so many organizations in the world that also would have reasons to go out and do things and have quote-unquote adventures. But no, you can only be part of the Adventurers Guild.
Indeed.
The Adventurers Guild is like, they regulate all conflict in the world. If you get into a fight on Raxia, and you didn't go through the Adventurers Guild first, they're gonna come for your ass.
Lol. Yeah, the Adventurers Guild is too much of a focus, and it's, just an excuse to make the game more streamlined and focused on the players being adventurers. but it comes at a quite severe cost as to making the Adventurers Guild of ridiculously and obscenely important. Like, just to the point of silliness. Hey, another victory. We're not doing so bad. You're losing a lot, but we're also winning a lot. I don't know. I mean, again, I just have a few concepts that I wanted to explore. A robot fairy, obviously. A digital entity. A robot or online entity. Either a robot or a cyberspace entity or both with a sympathetic and human-like personality. Sort of like Aura or Roll. I wanted like the idea of an impure being with morally pure motivations. And so forth, and just exploring those concepts, and I just want something that allows me to be a vehicle for those ideas. Maybe I'm going on about that too much, am I?
No. Also, if you look closely at her model, you can see that her wings are cybernetic.
I do. My wings had to be modified. They were too injured to leave alone. I wouldn't have been able to fly. They had to be modified. I say a little robot fairy, but I'm more of a cyborg fairy in actuality. An augmented fairy.
More powerful than ever.
Yeah, maybe. Hopefully. Which is why it would be nice to play a cyborg pixie. It's like, I say robot fairy, but I'm more like a pixie instead of just a fairy. I mean, all pixies are fairies, but not all fairies are pixies. And then there's like, it's robot, but by robot I mean like a cybernetically enhanced fairy. And by fairy I mean pixie. It's my name now. But to be more accurate, it would be more like augmented pixie. Feel like it doesn't roll off the tongue as well as robot fairy does though.
No, and you can't be an augmented pixie, it's just awkward.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And then being a cyborg is just hard for reasons.
Hey, since I obsess so much about Marie and I'm self-conscious whenever I hyperfixate on things, would you like to hear about another one of my role-playing character ideas?
Sure, I could use a break from talking, honestly.
Okay, would it be interesting, or would it be annoying and uninteresting and just, you know, indulging me?
I'd be interested in hearing it. You're a streamer, you're supposed to talk.
I know, I just don't want to, like... One of the important things I learned as a teenager trying to learn to better mask by my therapists was that they would say part of your problem is that you sometimes talk about things no one gives a crap about. And you need to learn to realize nobody cares about your obsessions. And I'm like, okay. And I became better at masking and I started a lifelong concern over, you know, talking about things nobody gives an F about.
Yeah.
So I try to think, okay, are people interested in what I'm talking about, or is it just me?
You know, the interesting thing is my mom and dad were always actually accommodating to that and interested in hearing me talk about stuff.
It's really awesome.
But, how do I put this? A lot of the things I was interested in where the problem wasn't me being interested in and talking about stuff a lot.
Mhm.
It tended to be what I was interested in that was the problem.
It was things that they didn't approve of.
Yeah. Otherwise, when it's been stuff, I mean, like, even now in adulthood, like, I'm afraid to, but, you know, my mom and dad, both of my dads are like, you know, if you want to talk about it, you can talk about it, I don't care.
I know that my parents would indulge me occasionally, but I could tell that it wasn't that interesting and they were just trying to be nice. Like, most of the things that interested in me, for a long time were completely uninteresting to my parents, especially my mom, who took very little interest in my hobbies, to the point of the fact that we had very little connection. Unlike my dad, who basically, we were like best buddies. I had a flawed but extremely involved and buddy relationship with my dad, especially later in life. When I was like a toddler, I guess I was closer to my mom, but once I hit like 11, it was very more relating with my dad. I think my mom resented having to deal with some of my mental issues and just became less friendly towards me. But anyway, a lot of the time they would just be uninvolved in, and I could get at some point I was able to watch and enjoy what I wanted to, because not necessarily always because that they didn't want to control what I enjoyed and make sure it was Christian enough or morally okay enough, but because it became too much work to keep up with and police every little hobby I cared about that they thought was boring and stupid and weird. It's like, I can't keep up with all of my child's hobbies. This is too much work, and at some point we diverged massively, as parents do from their children at some point. And so a lot of stuff they would be horrified to know that I enjoyed, even as an adult. But they would have no idea. But anyway, I digress. Want to hear about my role-playing concept idea? So, I've got, I'd say I'm furry casual, furry curious, if you will. Not a huge furry, but I like furry characters sometimes. Is the furry thing making you laugh, or
I'm not laughing, and then I told you I need to take a break from talking.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. So I liked the idea based on my Lulumu avatar. Have I shown you her? Of her existing in like a tribal society in a forest. You know, based loosely on like European tribes. Is the idea that she existed as like this innocent, adventurous girl who went out with a weak little wooden sword and a shield, and as an exploration of the world around her and the idea of fantasy racism. So it's like, you know how, you know, Tales of Symphonia was so much about some people being considered inferior. Well, this would be an exploration of how different cultures and tribal cultures were seen as inferior to, like, organized empires who colonized them. So it's like she starts off as this innocent girl who doesn't know that the world around her is so cruel, and she goes out on adventures in the forest, you know, getting maybe boar meat, going on a hunt, going on little pretend adventures while she's still innocent with her little sword, and being very connected with and loving, you know, her you know, hidden forest community. She's got a little hidden forest community in the middle of a big mystical forest with fairies and other creatures. Like, there's a whole fairy type community of which her wolf-inspired race is one of the fairy folk. Darn. Let's see. Gosh, I am not ready for Rainmaker right now.
I do want to comment that you would probably like the game Greedfall.
What's Greedfall?
It is an action RPG about a noble in a colonized island that is very heavily based on European tribalism. And you're dealing with maintaining... You're there as, like, the ambassador of your country, essentially. And you're dealing with making sure that everything is clean within your country, and that you maintain relations with what is essentially a Catholic nation and an Islamic nation.
I want to respond to chat.
Oh.
Is that okay? I'm just trying to cut you. Oh, okay. Yes, it is a reference to Noe from Fire Emblem. It very much is.
And I just wanted to say you also try to maintain relations with the peoples of the island, unlike a lot of people, because you take your job as a diplomat seriously. There, I'm done.
Okay.
Burger.
Okay. I'll talk to you more about her later. Oh, okay. Alright, chat. So, like, the idea was, I already explained, you know, that she's part of, essentially, like, a fae folk of furry. Like, kind of like furry wolf people who live in an enchanted forest, along with others, in, like, a hidden area that their tribe tries to protect. Oh, okay. I will wait, then. I need to go do something real quick anyway. I will be right back in just a moment. I'm gonna overslice something that's. Okay. Goodness, I am. Is that a bad thing? I very much am still streaming, yeah. I will have to leave to go to town eventually, though. Alright, let me know when you're back, Kura. Kura. Oops. Oh shoot. Oh shoot. Alright, I'm gonna wait. Oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
Since you've got a second, would you like to look out the back door?
What's wrong with it?
It's beautiful.
Oh. I don't need to hurry though. Like, we're about to start.
Oh, I thought you said he was gonna be back. Sorry, go on ahead.
Okay. Not reasonably tough, yeah. It's about what I remember from Rank Splatoon 1, because I used to play Rank Splatoon 1. I think the highest I ever got was like B+ or A-. Oh my gosh, yeah, I am a spicy, crazy spice girl. Not in the band, not in the girl band sense. But, like, a girl who likes her spice way too much.
Someone redeem a habanero.
Oh no, not today. I already ate a habanero today. I don't need to screw up my stomach even worse.
How long was I asleep with Mark, by the way?
I don't know about it keeping up with that.
I know I was asleep for a good few hours.
For sure. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact number, I really don't. 10 squats. Okay, we're not in the middle of a mat.
No, you gotta do it while I'm controlling the motion controls. This is Ring Fit now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want sit-ups, huh? Okay. You lost again. We were nice. That's good that we were matched with a friend.
Speaking of Ring Fit, did you know there are Ring Fit speedruns?
I'm not surprised. What doesn't have a speedrun community at this rate?
Did you know there are 100% speedruns?
I did not know, but I'm not surprised. Alright, sit-ups time, if I can do them in time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, there we go. 10 sit-ups. Thanks, Trini. Keeping me less sedentary. What's up?
Oh, you remember that meme, Autopsy Simulator that was talking about?
Yeah, ugh. Not for me.
Apparently, it's got a massive negative reviews for people who thought, why is this game just an actual simulator? Why is there this weird story in it?
Really?
Yeah. This game isn't a simulator of being a mortician. This game is some kind of adventure game. Refunded. Negative review. It's like, how stupid can people be?
I can see why people would have wanted or expected it to be a simulator. I don't know about review bombing, but I can imagine why people would be surprised and let down.
It's like being mad that Dishwasher Simulator isn't actually a simulator about washing dishes.
I see. Okay. But yeah, I want to make an OC character that is basically starts as, at least, an innocent, adventurous, wannabe hero, little Fulf girl. Little Fulf girl. Because I'm at least a little bit furry. Heck yeah! Victory! Wait, no? Thought I did the thing. Oh, okay. Is that not where you take it to? I thought that was the goal. Where's the goal then? I'm a dirtpad and an idiot. If it's not there, where am I supposed to take it? I need to find the goal spot. I can't see it. I'm an idiot. I thought that was where I was supposed to take it to. Oh, it's over there on the bottom here. You okay, Julia? I should check that on the map. I'm an idiot. I thought it was over there. Should have known better. At least it's not too far away and we're in the lead, but yeah. It's not here. It's over there. Derp!
I'm fine. One of the hamburgers was, you know, kind of doming up, so I pushed it down thinking it was air, and then a whole bunch of hot liquid just shot out.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh shoot, they have a lead now. That sucks. That means we're gonna have to work extra hard to get a lead now. Things are looking bad. They were looking good, now they are looking bad. Someone got it! Yay! Someone got it. But yeah, I'm not going into too many details about my Fulf girl idea until Julia's like back. I wanted you to be able to like focus on what I'm saying instead of cooking. I don't want your half attention or 30% attention. It's okay. I don't have to. If I'm bothering you, I shouldn't. I should be happy to even get 30% of your attention.
Don't say it like that.
Burn your, I guess you did burn, did you burn yourself? It sounds like you did.
No, we actually dodged it this time.
Good job. I have played Splatoon 2 before, but I mostly played rank on Splatoon 1 on my Wii U. I didn't get around to ranked on Splatoon 2. I didn't end up playing very much Splatoon 2. By the time I'd put like 50 hours into Splatoon 2 because Splatoon 3 was coming out. So basically I need to play more Splatoon 2. But the current game is Splatoon 3, so blah. I feel like Splatoon 3 should have basically been an expansion for Splatoon 2. Feel like having missed the party on Splatoon 2 is sad. Also, I miss Pearl and Marina.
Off the Hook was better. I'm sorry.
I did really like Marina and Pearl. And I miss Splatoon 2. Maybe I should go back and play Splatoon 2. I'm going to at some point.
I highly recommend it, especially the Octo expansion. I didn't really play multiplayer, I only played the single player stuff on Splatoon 2. Well, okay, and I played Salmon Run, but, trust me when I say that the single player campaign in Octo expansion is awesome. The regular campaign is pretty okay too, but Octo expansion is amazing.
Oh, you have to hit 2 goals now? Yeah, that's different. Very different from when I Splatoon 1. Because mostly I rank Splatoon 1. Most of my time on Splatoon was in Splatoon 1. I played hundreds and hundreds of hours of Splatoon 1. Splatoon 2, I really miss the boat and I hate it. Oh, okay, you're here now? I mean, out of the kitchen. Okay. Are you up to hearing more about my character? Okay. So I thought it would... Obviously, her character is not focused on being an innocent child, but everyone was a child once. So I thought in terms of her backstory, it would be nice for her to be like the prototypical adventurous, you know, girl full of imagination and innocence and wonder who goes out and pretends to be a hero with her little makeshift sword and shield, and all the villagers think, oh, she's so adorable and cute with her little adventure and going out into the forest and talking to pixies or whatever. So like one day, she goes outside of the barrier, the magical barrier for her little hidden village within the mystical forest, and sees some humans on the way. And so, she, being innocent and not knowing about her position in the world, she just, you know, talks and hangs out. It's like, hey, it's some humans. You're humans, right? Wow, hi. And instead of being friendly to her, like, they hit her with the back of their sword, knocking her unconscious, and essentially kidnapping her, and her essentially becoming a slave of sorts. Like, they take her and they are like, wow, this inferior being, where's your village? Or whatever.
I've seen this.
I'm not turning her into a sex slave or anything just that disturbing. I don't want to go that dark. That would be... Poor her deserves better than that. I do not want to do something that horrible to her. But I did want to show that human society treats her as inferior, and her people as being more like on the level of animals in terms of human rights. Not as the same level as, you know, cows and chickens for slaughter or house pets. but as being inferior and animalistic, and part of an inferior tribal culture. And so, you know, the humans that came by were like soldiers who were planning to subjugate them. And they do manage to like ward off protection, because they immediately were like, you're gonna show us how to get into this village. And she tries to, because she doesn't know that they're trying to hurt the villagers. But the barrier is wary of the fact that they're humans. And so she isn't able to figure out how to get humans into the barrier, regardless of them trying to force her. And so, instead of that, they decide to kidnap her. And so, the story is about her coming to terms with the, struggles of people like her in a society that treat her as subhuman for being a furry. I'm sorry if what I'm doing is uninteresting. Is it? Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm a little bit... So yes, very much focused on fantasy racism and inspired by Tales of Symphonia in terms of the way that half-elves and humans are treated at times. Like, essentially, her as a being is on the same level socially as half-elves and Tethe'alla. Essentially inferior and disposable. Because I always imagined in these stories about furries and humans coexisting, there often isn't a ton of exploration of dehumanization that I expect would happen. Because in the real world, people were discriminated against and treated as subhumans and animalistic, based solely on having a tribal culture and having a different skin color. I
think I know the game you're talking about here.
What?
Fire Emblem Cult of Radiance.
Teehee. Fire Emblem is definitely an influence of mine among others for these sort of settings.
I just mean, Cult of Radiance's story was gone.
I do need to play that. I can play it on my Wii U, so that's good.
You ever played it?
I haven't gotten very far in it. I played more of Dawn. Really?
You.
Oh, okay. I'll just go kill myself for being unworthy of your company.
You're not unworthy of my company. You're just not worthy of being called. Mark is more of a demon than you.
So, like, BNA. Anime BNA, holy cow, 29 splats. Wait, who? Did you get 29 splats? You did, congratulations. Could have won. Oh, did I screw up? I'm so sorry. I'm being distracted. I'm so sorry, Banner. I'm so sorry, everyone, for failing. I just think that there's a lot of stories like Sonic the Hedgehog and whatever, where it's just like they suddenly put these furry characters in the human world, and for some reason in a human world in which tribal societies or societies that they deemed underdeveloped in the West, or based on skin color, or both, people were dehumanized. I cannot imagine that literal animal people would be treated as equals in a world that regular old skin color racism still exists. So I often imagined in like a medieval fantasy setting with like, you know, knight soldiers and whatnot, that such a tribal people who live simply in a fairy forest of furry animal human creatures, anthropomorphic animal creatures, they would not fare very well in such a society. So I wanted to make a sympathetic girl character who starts off a very innocent and nice girl who is innocent and ignorant of the world's bigotry to have a coming of age story, understanding that unlike her village and all of the people who treat her as equals, the world at large is a dangerous place, and she is in a precarious situation based solely on what she was born as, and not based on her achievements or her personality or anything like that. That she's just treated as inferior. And that the humans she wants to make friends with at first were soldiers who were going to destroy her village and ended up selling her off at a market. That could obviously go in a really messed up direction, but I don't want to invoke that because it would just, I want her to be in a position a little better than some messed up hentai scenario. She deserves at least better than that. But I did want to explore the idea of that. Oh, brand new animal. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Beastmen and humans. Maybe I should watch that. So at some point I wanted the story of that to become to some degree about liberation from, you know, races and peoples that were being oppressed by this evil empire. And the complexities of her life and navigating this. And how she holds on to her goodness and goodwill towards humans and people of all backgrounds, despite being seen in an unfair light. And how she goes on real life adventures in the world outside of her life, but with a greater knowledge of what the real world actually is, rather than her childhood misconception that was more kind and innocent. And how she kind of holds on to that inner child and inner kindness instead of becoming bitter at the world around her. As a way of exploring growing up in the real world and our real world and dealing with how unfair the world is without letting go of the kindness in your heart and letting it corrupt you. Does that sound interesting? I like your attitude today. Oh, thanks. I think while Maria is like an exploration of being allosexual instead of asexual and having a high libido and weird fetishes in a world that shames sexuality, in the Madonna whore complex that I'm subjected to, and a world that, you know, sees women as either pure Madonnas or degraded, debased whores, which I think is unfair, and a social media landscape that is increasingly anti-sexual. I feel like my furry character, who I'm not fully decided on the name yet, is an exploration of what it's like to be a good-hearted and kind person who has a rosy image of the world, an inner child, that becomes then challenged by the realities of a cruel world and how to hold on to that kind of innocence throughout adulthood instead of becoming tainted by the cruelty of the world. Someone who is able to keep a positive attitude and be kind to everyone, despite the fact that the world is unfair to you because you're a minority. As it's a way of, like, exploring the misunderstandings and the unfairness that people are subjected to by being a minority. And how does one hold on to that same pure-hearted love of humanity, even through the unfairness of all that? It's sort of like me expressing the desire to be kind and innocent in a world that is not kind and innocent, I guess is what I'm saying. A person, as someone who wants to be wholesome in a world that is anything but wholesome, like, as the question is, how do you become untainted by a tainted world? How do you keep that attitude? I think that all of my characters are some sense an exploration of feelings in my psyche. And that's sort of my feeling with her is, like, how do you keep pure-hearted in a world that is impure? Sure, go ahead and DM me one. Do you think that I need to adjust that character at all? That there's anything, like, missing or wrong about them? Julia? That was directed at you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh. I don't know where to start now.
What was the question?
Do you think that I need to work on that character or give them a different angle? Or that the concept of that character is fine as is?
No, everything I heard is it's a very basic character concept. I just think it needs fleshing out in details, and then those details are where things will be more hit or miss.
Do you think that there is any tabletop game that would allow me to explore such a race and such a character? 'Cause I don't know of too many, tabletop games with this much potential variety for furry races. There's Habits in Sword World, but those are like bunny people.
Well, here's the thing. You'd want something without a fixed setting, so you can either use something like Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, or, I mean, I don't know if there's some better alternative these days. There probably is, but GURPS or something like GURPS, but better.
See, in a win way, we win based on the general judgments being of our... If we leave the unfair world, we can't observe it anymore. Deem you a picture. Way better attitude today. Sorry, I was trying to read chat. I still probably missed a lot what y'all were saying about my idea, and I apologize. Wow, that is a lavender. Ow. Yeah, I guess I would only be homebrew. A lot of my concepts and characters I want to play as aren't the easiest things or most supported in most tabletop games, it seems like. Like, my idea for a character for Sword World or D&D has to be a little bit homebrewed. My idea for an Egos character is a little bit weird. My idea of a furry character is a little bit weird. I don't think that most of these games are built around the sort of concepts that my brain comes up with.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Shadowrun.
Yeah?
It has rules for it.
It has rules for a furry girl? Oh, the egos, yeah.
Also rolls for that.
Yeah, you would think with how passionate furries are, that there would be, you know, something furries created along those lines. Ah, that sucks. We lost. Again. I am apparently not very good at Rainmaker at all. At all. Winning more? Well, I'm glad we're winning more. It sure doesn't feel like it. And I am too scared to take the responsibility of the Rainmaker right now, considering how bad I've been. I really should go for it, but I'm kind of intimidated by that responsibility right now. I can't lie. So instead I've been trying to, like, be a support for the person who's gonna grab the Rainmaker. Oh, hi, Vogue Ferret. Both minority and majority. I mean, I'm a minority in some ways and a majority in others. I am of, let's say, light-skinned European descent, but I'm also very much LGBT and neurodivergent, as some have called it. So I can relate to the feeling of both in different ways. Lorcade Cotton, interesting name. Lynn, good name. There is a Lynn on our team. Booyah for my favorite color. My favorite color ever. Ah, shoot. 4K Cotton's a sniper. Ow. One of the details I wanted for such a character is that she ends up in a relationship with a human who could be described in some ways as a chaser or a fetishizer, but who is still a person who, you know, learns to see her differently than just her background. Like, has a preference for furry girls. And also they exist in a world where that is considered evil bestiality by some human societies and would get you arrested because of the fact that they're seen as subhuman. I went for it that time. No one else was going for it. Someone had to do it. Did I handle it very well? Not exactly.
I think maybe everyone internally is also like, I'm not very good at the Rainmaker, I'll let someone else do it.
Yeah, probably. Someone has to take on that responsibility at some point, though. Dang. I just got murked. Oh yeah, absolutely. If furries were real, there'd be a lot of people who are fetishizers because that's what furries... In a world where you don't got a lot of animal people, let's say, in our world. The furries, you see, are the people more so who fetishize furries than who are born cat people or whatever. Let's say. So I wanted to deal with how our world's version of furries would deal with a world where furries actually exist. In which essentially furries of our world are admirers or chasers. Furry enthusiasts, if you will. And the person she does form a relationship with does find himself more attracted to her. Because she is a furry girl. And learns to understand her background more in the process. Like, she doesn't just, like, be like, ooh, you're a chaser, I'm not gonna date you. But it's a complex relationship in which he learns and appreciates more about her that he didn't know because he doesn't have that background. And of course, he makes mistakes along the way, but he's not a bad person who treats her as nothing more than a fetish object. But he also has a fetish or preference for her background that he really can't have a choice in the matter. That's just how he feels. He just has a thing for, you know, what she is. But he still sees her as an individual. Likely make a lot of porn. And I did want her to eventually have a mixed child with that man. But how I'm going to work around that story of her being a mother is not something I fleshed out. But I would eventually like to make her a biological mother to a human husband. I do know that, you know, getting away from my Maria hyperfixation or obsession or whatever, I think that this character is something that my heart is a little bit set on. I imagine that the forest area she came from is a little bit like a furry version of Kokiri Forest, in which you're not supposed to be able to enter unless you know the way. And has, you know, a simple enough society of, you know, a tribe of furry creatures. Not pixie furries, but like a fae folk who lives symbiotically with other fae folk in the forest. Has their own traditions and their own culture that I kind of wanted to make semi-based on Germanic culture.
Semi-based, huh?
Yeah, it's just a little bit based. Ow. Got murked.
It's too loud, I'm sorry.
What?
Sorry if it's too loud.
Oh, your stream? No, it's not. How's your burger? Good, I'm glad. Just keep getting defeated.
As many of these as I'm eating, I wonder if I was having a deficiency again.
Possible. Do you think I'm too obsessed with my OCs?
Nah.
That's good.
So is everyone.
Yeah, basically.
Too obsessed with his OCs.
Very. Tolkien was very cringe. Very cringe Tolkien. Too obsessed with his OCs. Literally making his Hobbit OCs smoke a pipe like he does. Very cringe. The thing is that I am worried that too much of my character is a little too self-insert or a little too coming from, like, personal hang-ups with life and society and existence. And I need to make a greater variety of characters who aren't just, like, an extrapolation of my own consciousness. There has to be villains, there has to be friends, there has to be random characters that aren't just, like, literally me, but a furry, or literally me, but a succubus. Oh, you're gonna switch up your weapons, cool. Which is the nice thing about role-playing is I don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about these other characters. Other players get to insert their own personality into the stories to bounce off of my idea. Well, we're not off to a roaring start. And they're doing a good job of pushing us back. Well, that sucks. One thing that sucks about role-playing and being forced into an adventure role is it is so focused on combat and the like and Adventurers Guild and whatnot. God, that round went terrible. Oh my god, we just got stomped in a few seconds. I hate that. I hate that. I hate that so much. God, I hate that. Is the fact that the way I would want to write a story, I would at least want there to be significant portions of slice of life. Like, I grew up loving, like, didn't grow up, but I love the slice of life genre. I love the slice of life genre. And so, like, I want there to be a lot of roleplay. I want there to be a lot of life outside of Dangerous Tales. I want there to be a lot of the good times as well as the bad. I don't want it to be all adventure or all journey. I'd like for Maria to have breathing room and a lot of time spent doing normal mundane things as a member of an abbey, in which some of the entertainment is just cozy, everyday life. like a lot of slice of life anime I enjoy, and not all adventure. I want there to be adventure, I want there to be a conflict, I want there to be a plot. But my idea of balance is that there is a lot of slice of life to contrast the bad stuff, to show you what lifestyle is good and worth protecting. That there is a good life to be had, and the bad adventure and the war and stuff is the contrast. The bad thing, the bad evil lord or monsters or whatever, that's a contrast from the good life that needs to be protected. That there is a good life to go back to when the adventure is over. Is that weird?
It's really cool, actually.
Oh, well, thank you. And yeah, that's one thing I don't like about the Adventurers Guild and in Sword World is, you know, it's join the Adventurers Guild, get on an adventure, and go. Shoot, well, it didn't last long. The thing is that, like, there's so many... Like, medieval times didn't have much in the way of an adventurer's guild. And yet they've kind of taken over the high fantasy genre, especially in Japan. Where it's like, everything is Adventurers Guild, Adventurers Guild, Adventurers Guild. And it's like, yeah, taverns and Adventurers Guilds could exist. But what if you just want to play a character like Raquette Lemongrass? People think that that would be boring, and yet people made a video game of what it would be like to be a shop owner in debt who occasionally goes on adventures to gather items with a swordsman who protects her. And it's still interesting and fun. What is a character that you would like to play that doesn't fit the guild member archetype? Yes, you, Julia. Charisma to debuff or buff. Adventures, you go live life in an apartment with your... I guess? Kinda, maybe. I like the earlier episodes of So No Frieren for this reason, because I feel like a lot of the story is just them going on an adventure and visiting a lot of locations. Like Kino's Journey style. It can be very slice of life at times. She goes around to various locations and revisits her journey in a mostly slice of life way. And then you get kind of bogged down by, like, the tournament arc, where she has to prove herself at one specific area. And it really breaks up the pacing, which I felt like me and Julia both agree that was a weak part of the show. Like, I feel like the journey was... Not always. There was, like, demons to defeat and another problems, but it was like, it was showing you the culture of the world. It didn't stay too long in one place, and it was very slice of life. A lot of things were just like, Frieren goes to the town and does a mundane task and learns a mundane spell. Frieren remembers something Himmel the hero did near a statue or a group of flowers.
Frieren wakes up for 12 a.m.
Exactly. Frieren wakes up at a normal sleep schedule and is sleepy and has to be kept awake by Fern. And it was still interesting to me. Some people would be bored by that. It's like, where's the action? Where's the plot? I like a good amount of slice of life. I like enough mundane stuff. Like, it was good that that's broken up by, like, some combat against a bunch of demons. But it doesn't overstay its welcome. That didn't overstay its welcome. The demon arc, to me, perfect size, good breakup from the slice of life. The magic tournament arc, where she has to, you know, get a passport to the far north by proving herself, that's multiple episodes long, that overstayed its welcome. What do you think? Did the demon fighting arc overstay its welcome? Yeah. I think that it was the right size and took it was good. That one was good. But is 5'9". That's a hilarious idea, Trini. That is amusing. I mean, for me personally, of course, my idea for Maria is that her primary affiliation is a church. You know, she doesn't want to go off and become an adventurer. She just wants to be a pious girl whom the church may send out on some sort of mission. Because churches do that. There was even the Crusaders. You know, there was holy knights and holy this and people who go out, because even monks will sometimes sell things to people outside of the monastery. Because there is a world outside of it, no matter how much you try to cloister yourself off as an Amish person or Mennonite or whatever. There has to be an interface with the church in the secular world. But for my idea was that the Adventurers Guild is like the secular world. And I wanted her to live primarily as the church being her community and her roots, essentially. That sucks. And for my furry character, let's just call her Lulu for now until I give her a name that's not stolen, is that I wanted her to primarily be connected to her village and want to help her village elder or her parents or her other relatives or for instance, a resistance group trying to fight people, trying to murder and genocide people similar to her by humans. Instead of she's on Adventure Guild and does this as a job. And I'm sure there's many other instances. Like being part of a liberation group rather than just an adventurer. Like, the idea and my idea for her is not, you better go defeat the Demon Lord or the Dark Lord of Saruman or Sauron or Morgoth style. The evil is human prejudice, is of the empires that want to genocide people like her, is ongoing oppression. She can do adventures along the way, in which she is allowed to do so in society. But I wanted her primary motivation to be like, how do I fix this? What is my group that supports me and allows me to live reasonably? And would that probably include doing adventures to make money? Probably so. Drinking out of the dog bowl. Good cat. Good girl. Are they a girl? I don't know. Non-binary cat. Darn. Hi, Octoauto ARE. Wait. Hi there. Nintendo, did someone? Yeah, they sure did. They took down a bunch of stuff on GitHub for extracting your cartridges, your Switch cartridges. And getting the keys as long as the game data in a usable state to extract your own games that you paid for from a cartridge. They went and took down a bunch of stuff on GitHub for that. I don't know all the details. And they also have removed and DMCA'd a bunch of game mods for their games on Game Banana. Not happy about that. I apologize if it sounded like I was making fun of Trinidadian Nerd. Okay. Girl cat. Good girl. Good girl. Meow meow. Yeah, the Vim Slayer thing sucks, but at least I'm not as upset with Nintendo because it is literally piracy. I'm still not fond of it because Nintendo won't sell you these games anymore, and they've gone up crazily in price. But it's hard to fault Nintendo too much for taking down ROMs. At least I get that. That doesn't seem so petty. Like, emulation and treating emulation as piracy and illegal, that's stupid. Not making most of their games available to purchase when some of them have skyrocketed in price. Not allowing people to, like, play Melee with Slippy without getting DMCA'd and being like, no, because it's piracy and that's illegitimate, even if they bought Melee. Like, the fact that they won't re-release these games. A lot of these things, the game mods thing, the fan games thing, all of that, that bothers me. But I'm sad about Vim Slayer. I'm sad about what they've done to multiple ROM websites that are getting games that have gone at the same price as on eBay. I still at least am like, yeah, that's fair. That's still piracy. It's hard for me to fault them too much over Vim Slayer as much as I dislike it. It's the stuff about emulation and other copyright stuff that grinds my gears. Like, if they would chill out about fan games and mods and emulation, I wouldn't be so sore. Like, they need to make money off of their high-budget AAA games, like Super Mario Odyssey. They deserve to get paid for making games like that. And I don't think is that they deserve to say it's illegal to emulate your games, that it's illegal for you to rip your game discs or your game cartridges for your own use, that they should just take down these eShops After focusing so much on telling you you can't emulate, and that you better buy your games even if they're $200 by scalpers, I think that's very unreasonable of them. I think that they've hurt a lot of good people the way that they have treated copyright. But it's fair that they take ROMs down. It would be more fair if they would sell you the games, but I'm not that angry about it. I'm more upset about the way they treat emulators and the way they treat game ownership. That they treat you as if you buy the game and you don't own it. That you can't mod it, you can't emulate it, you can't rip it, you can't back it up. You can't use it as inspiration for fan works. Nothing. They get to control everything and you own nothing. And you have no rights and will sue you for millions of dollars and ruin your life. I think that's very unreasonable. Taking down ROMs is reasonable. They don't want their game stolen, they want you to pay for it. It'd be more reasonable if it was games they were actively selling and making money off of, though. Like, why don't they sell you Melee again, since so many people want to play Melee? Why don't they find out a way for people to play it with decent online, without having to rely on Dolphin and Slippy? So that during a pandemic, people don't literally have to endanger their health. Or just not play it. Like, Nintendo are unreasonable. Sega does not do this. Sega is like, okay, fan games are fine. They don't attack you for emulators. They sell you a bunch of ROMs that you can use on your own emulators on Steam. And Nintendo is just like, no, we're not gonna be reasonable people. We're gonna be mean. And I don't like that. Like, downloading ROMs illegally is a crime, and people ought to be able to have a decent way to pay for their games. You have every right, and it's reasonable to expect them. It's reasonable to expect them to do this. I feel like I would be unreasonable to be ticked at them today about Vimslayer. When other ROM sites will pop up inevitably. As they always do. And that is illegal. It's not reasonable for them to do what they've done to emulator developers. To people trying to just let people copy their own game library. Literally their own game library that they paid for. Or mod the game that they bought. So I do think it's silly of Nintendo to get so upset over people pirating games, in which the only way to buy a copy is through a scalper for hundreds of dollars on eBay. Like, just sell us the games. I don't understand why it hurt to keep the eShop open on the Wii U and 3DS. How much does it cost them? They should let you buy the games. They should make it easy for you to buy the games. It would be much better of them to spend that money trying to give you a legal, reasonable, affordable way to buy the games that they used to make on GameCube or whatever, than to spend their time preventing you from stealing them. Do you agree with that?
Sorry, I was reading something.
Oh, okay, it's alright.
Supposed to agree with or disagree with?
It's okay.
General
That would be
topic.
too much. What?
General topic summary.
Do you think that it would be more reasonable for Nintendo to spend at least a fraction of that money on making the games that they've sold that are, like, scalped online and hard to purchase on selling you those games rather than focus on taking down ways that people steal and pirate them.
Sure, which costs more R&D, but if you're talking strictly money, but obviously it's the more ethical thing.
Game Newell said piracy is a service problem, and Nintendo has given a lot of service problems in terms of making their game library available.
Yeah.
I do think that people should support the developers when and where that they can. I don't think piracy is always wrong, and I kind of disagree with you on some takes about piracy in terms of, like, when it's appropriate, but I think that it feels like for Nintendo, it's like you take down your eShops and you refuse to sell hundreds of games that you've made, and you expect people to only buy a legitimate and play a legitimate copy. I don't think that everyone can be expected to spend $200. And while Nintendo is legally in their right and they shouldn't, you know, be expected to... Oh, go back to the checkpoint? Am I on the wrong way? Where is it? Oh, okay. I'm so stupid. I am so stupid at this game. I am bad at this. And also distracted by my conversation.
Yeah, it's my blowing face. The problem is not Nintendo. The problem is the rights that Nintendo has.
Yeah. I think that we need a revamp of copyright law. Like, in terms of hardware and software. The fact that people can't even make their own GameCubes for these old consoles because of, like, our trademarks and whatnot is kind of messed. The fact that people can't rip their own games easily. I've done really bad at Rainmaker. I am not used to the new Rainmaker. I literally messed us up because I went past... I didn't backtrack, but I went past the checkpoint you're supposed to take it to. Because my instinct is just take it to the end. Because that's the way it used to work. And my teammates probably think I'm such an idiot, and they would be right. Shame on me. They're probably yelling at me behind their screens, and they're right to do so. Rainmaker, new Rainmaker is not my flavor of understanding. I emulate games constantly. Emulation is a good thing and it's often the best option. Despite this, I collect lots and lots of old consoles and try to, if I can, play on original hardware. But a lot of the times that's not reasonable. Not everyone needs to have a collection of dozens of different consoles like me. And honestly, they are a burden to have this many consoles. Emulation is fine. You shouldn't have to keep around 20 or 30 different consoles you want to play games. And for a lot of old systems, the emulation has gotten very, very accurate and true to the originals. In some cases, when some people say I don't emulate games, I just assume that they probably don't play a lot of good games that have been lost to time and don't really sorry, I'm not saying that's true of you, but I think that a lot of people who refuse emulation are refusing important historical games and important historical systems. And then just missing out on a lot of great games and systems. because of turning up their nose at, because I sincerely doubt everyone who's like, well, I don't like emulation are just the original hardware enthusiasts. A lot of people are just like, I don't want to emulate games. These systems don't matter. These games don't matter. And they do. They do matter. There's two crowds who are like, I don't like emulation. I don't bother emulating games. There's the people who are like, absolutely must play on original hardware type people, the people who buy expensive upscalers, like your RetroTink 4K and whatnot, and SCART cables, and go for the perfect original hardware experience. And then there's the people who are just very incurious outside of modern games. If it's not on a modern console, they won't explore. And the first group I sympathize with, because there's something nice about playing on original hardware. That's why I have dozens of consoles. But it just really makes me sad that some people will never discover great games like Mother 3 because they will never bother with emulation. There's the people who are like, I must play on original hardware for Mother 3. And then there's the people like, I don't feel like emulating. Emulation's not great. I just won't play Mother 3. That I feel like is a tragedy.
And here's where one of my hot takes about emulation comes in for you. One of the best ways to stick it to the man and stick it in Nintendo is to just buy and play other games that are legally available.
So you think I should go back to not playing Nintendo games then and be on my whole Sega thing?
That's up to you. But, I mean, I don't fully like what Steam has become, but if you go on Steam, you go on GOG, hell, if you even go on Nintendo's own eShop, you will find any number of games that are not made by Nintendo.
Yeah, but a lot of the money still goes to Nintendo because they take a percentage. If you buy them on Steam, then Valve takes a percentage. If you buy them on Sony, Sony takes a percentage. But it doesn't matter if you're buying Nintendo games, as long as it's on Nintendo stores. They're taking your money.
But they're not selling the games.
I'm confused.
Buying the hardware is something you just have to do. And yeah, Nintendo's gonna get a cut of it, and they're gonna get a cut of the store profits, but it's not about how do I put this? Not playing their games diminishes the value of said games.
So am I doing the wrong thing by playing Splatoon? Was I doing the right thing by focusing on Sega?
There's no right or wrong thing. Do what you want. I'm just saying that rather than fretting over games that aren't legally available, just buy games from somebody else.
So
Somebody who you aren't going to be worried about getting rid of your game. And you know what, to a point you're right, because the Nintendo eShop will be taken down. That's one of the reasons a lot of people are very, very pro GOG. It's because GOG can outright hand you DRM free shit. I don't necessarily think Steam is that bad. I think when it inevitably goes under, I don't think anyone's gonna bat an eye over someone getting their games off of Steam, or at least making sure they still work. Unfortunately, to a point, with digital games, things are just gonna be lost no matter what, because server space is limited. It's a collaborative effort. Even if you go through GOG, you would still have to hold onto all of those DRM-free copies of your games on your computer or a storage you have access to, and even if you have it on cloud storage, there's no guarantee you're gonna get it, so you do have to invest in hard storage devices that will go bad after a time, and you still will have to move that over to new storage devices. Nothing is forever. But at the same time, if someone wants to make sure that you can have your product as long as they can provide it to you, then I think that's to the benefit.
After this round, I'm gonna go back and read y'all's comments. Sorry I've missed a lot of it and been kind of in my own world talking. I promise I'm not ignoring you. And once this round is over, I'm gonna take a break from playing in order to read and respond to all of y'all's comments.
I think the thing where the Nintendo eShop and the Sony shop go downhill is because they can maintain them and don't.
The thing is that Sony at least still allows and keeps open the PlayStation Network for the PlayStation 3, whereas Nintendo hasn't even kept the 3DS and Wii U shop open.
I didn't realize they still had the PS3 open, so that
They
is
do.
really cool.
Yeah.
But no, that is what I was saying, is that... So I think you are correct about the Nintendo games on the eShop when Nintendo doesn't make an attempt to keep your stuff viable.
They sure don't.
Valve, again, while Steam will inevitably fail one day, and there's only so much you can keep within your own storage, and anyone can keep within their own storage, Valve will try to keep your games available for you as long as possible. And I think that's the difference, is that they're determined to do such.
Alright, reading a bunch of comments now. I'm so sorry, I've not been trying to ignore them. It's been hard to read them all in between all of this playing. About old video games to make me feel more like a little bro. Wait, what? Let's go. The thing about the PSN store is you still need to jump through hoops. You do? Do you? Didn't know that. At least you can, though.
Video games that make you feel more like a little bro. Well, I mean, I can say one thing, which is that...
Go ahead.
The distribution of games used to be something completely different from what it is now. I think I talked about this with you in my channel before, in fact. Oh.
Oh, okay, Kura. See you. Thanks for playing with me. Sorry for doing so bad. I'm really bad at Rainmaker, clearly. It used to be okay in Splatoon 1's Rainmaker, but this one I'm absolute garbage at. And I know that I held my team back.
But game distribution could quite often be through the individual. Very few PC games went through publishers, what publishers they did go through tended to be very scummy. Or, were the ones selling really big box games, although they also still tended to be really scummy. But the point is, you couldn't just go to Steam and buy the latest indie game. Steam originally existed for Valve to distribute their games cheaper. To remind everyone, that's what Steam actually was. And, a lot of the times you would buy someone's game off of their website, and you would hope that they still had some files, or that they were still alive. There is not an insignificant amount of games that have been lost to time because someone died before they sold it. As awful as that is. I don't know how I feel about centralized storefronts. I feel like they solve some problems and make others. I feel like it removes some autonomy from the developer while giving the ability to have their work preserved by someone who has a better ability to do so. Oh, there were download-only games, at a certain point. Before then, you are right that, like, that there was a lot of shareware games that were distributed by floppy, but, yeah, and in the time of me growing up, there was a lot of games you could just download. Newgrounds and RPGmaker.net were in their heyday at the time.
It's so hard to scroll up with this thing. I wonder if it would be better to go on the Twitch website. Would it be able to just be easily able to look through old comments on Twitch? Because this scroll up is garbage.
To a point, yeah.
Do I just go on my stream, or do I go to creator dashboard?
Go to your stream.
Okay. Because that thing is just bad. Did downloadable games exist before 2004? I assume so.
Oh yeah, they did. Absolutely. I mean, so the first very big historically downloadable game, it wasn't the first one, but it was one of the first and most notable, is NetHack. A lot of people may not know where the name NetHack came from. The name NetHack came from the fact that it was developed over the internet by a collaborative effort of people who would send the files back and forth. Actually, a lot of the, like, force behind NetHack was colleges. Like, college resources were spent because they had good internet access and computers that could handle this, and people who were learning and capable of developing it. That's the history of NetHack, and it was, of course, distributed via the internet to download, much in the same way that it was, developed via sending things back and forth via the internet. And then once you get more towards the 90s, one of the most famous moddable games that there is Doom. And Doom WODs were very much distributed across the internet. And then, of course, there are any number of games that were distributed over the internet before then, but those are two very notable examples of games that were downloadable in a sense. I mean, obviously you had to buy Doom still, but then you could just download the WODs. It was not gaming college, Trini. It was just people in college who had a knowledge of programming. And had the resources and did it in their spare time. Much like the Oracle. The Internet Oracle, if you're ever familiar with that, was also a service actually made and maintained at Indiana University.
Does that mean I have a chance to talk now?
Sorry.
You're fine, I have a lot on my mind that I'm trying to remember. So I went on the Twitch page and there's only so far that I can scroll back now. Is there a way to go further back? Because I'm still missing a lot of the conversation.
Nope.
There's no way to read those older messages?
There's a limit to how far back you can go in the chat, yes.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I've missed a ton of y'all's messages forever. I thought there might be something on Creator Dashboard.
If you ended the stream and then watched the VOD, you could see the comments.
Huh.
Because there's a chat record on the VOD.
Yeah. That would be pretty awkward, though. If it's gaming history lessons, you really think so? Is it that interesting? I will say a few things. It is really, really easy to emulate, especially nowadays. Some emulators are a little tricky, I admit. But a lot of emulators are really easy to get working. Easy as a lot of PC games. Another thing I'll say is that I think that while Melee wouldn't sell as much as Smash Ultimate due to its lower roster, Melee has a dedicated community and they would buy and deserve a way to support the game legally without having to hunt down GameCube copies of Melee. I think that Nintendo needs to give people a way to purchase the games they want to purchase and give money to Nintendo instead of having to pay scalper prices.
Just make it so that since Nintendo no longer makes GameCube versions of Melee, even if they made a remake, just let people make their own GameCube versions of Melee. Regardless of if they make a remake or a port or not.
Emulation is really simple. It's just a program that simulates the functions of old video game and PC hardware. It doesn't take much in these things other than mostly just loading up a ROM and configuring your gamepad.
And now we GAs.
Yeah, we got FPGAs too, which are like hardware emulation. Those are really plug and play. There's a lot of great games for older systems that are worth going back and visiting, like the Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, or etc. There's a lot of all-time classics on the Super Nintendo and PlayStation 1 that are absolutely worth revisiting, and a lot of games that have skyrocketed in price that I believe are absolutely worth playing. Like that one game where you can name your attacks that was difficult to find. Yeah, Legend of the Rudris. Like games like that, or like Terranigma. Like, it's just absolutely worth going back using an emulator or something to, how do you load a ROM? Usually there's just a part on...
Pleasure of the room, yes.
Okay. Trinidadian Nerd says, how do I load up a ROM? I have no idea how this works.
You open the you get your ROM, you get your emulator.
Yeah.
Go to your emulator's file menu. You scroll down to the one that says open. You navigate to where in your file system the ROM is. You click on the ROM. You click open. Bam.
Yeah, basically. It's very simple.
Bam. Look at that Mario sizzle.
Exactly. Nice reference.
The only reason I push modern gaming so much as opposed to trying to push a lot of emulation is because honestly, I think to a point a lot of people get tunnel visioned on old games because they enjoyed them. And so personally, this is a bit of a thing for me. For a while, I was obsessed with buying new games because I had had a portion of my life kind of taken away from me. And I had FOMO, and I was obsessed with, like, trying to catch up with the world. But what this eventually
Thanks for following, Kurukura.
Oh,
sorry.
Hadn't followed. What the heck? Thank you.
Sorry for interrupting you. I was afraid of...
No. You're fine, you're fine. In the process, though, I began to learn about and understand a lot of... There's so many games out there now. At first, I thought it was an oversaturation, and to a point, I still think it is an oversaturation. But there's so much amazing creative things out there. Not just the popular stuff. Not just your pizza towers and your backpack battles. But even things like Umeri and Worth Life and Lunch 13 and all of these other games that, like, nobody really fucking knows about them, but they're in my mind and in my heart, they're just as much of a classic masterpiece as when I played Chrono Cross, as when I played Dark Law, The Meaning of Death, as when I played Tales of Fantasia, and yes, Len, I played the DJAP version.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was like accursed and undoable.
As when I played Metal Gear Solid, as when I played Xenosaga, as when I played, gosh, what else did I have on the PS2? There's just so many. As when I played Dokapon Kingdom, as when I played Baroque. You know, games didn't stop becoming amazing, and while admittedly some of it was fueled by a toxic FOMO that I've had to work on getting over, part of me doesn't want to get caught up in the past.
Would you say I'm too caught up in the past?
I don't know how to... I can't say because I'm not you. I don't mean that no... I don't know how to respond to that question. I have no answer, and I'm sorry. I don't mean that in a negative way at all.
I definitely have a lot of nostalgia and a lot of things I prefer about old game design. But that's not to say I don't give new games a chance, especially indie games of the kind you're talking about, but also, you know, AAA games from people like Nintendo and Sega and so forth. But I do have a certain taste. I would say that that's also the case when it comes to music. A lot of people will get stuck on like their old music from like very old stuff like Pink Floyd or old jazz and things like that and be like, new music sucks. We should go back to Led Zeppelin or whatever. Or people are like, the 90s was the best music. And music nowadays sucks. And it's all the same Lady Gaga, whatever. But, a lot of these people I feel like are ignoring a lot of the obscure music today that is also great, and the diversity of music over hundreds of different genres and developing genres that exist today is like great music is still being made. It just may not be on the radio.
I mean, my point also was that even newer popular games are still good too. And honestly, you remember I was talking about like that toxic feeling of I have to keep up with what's modern. Having that radio on in the car has actually kind of helped me get past that a little bit, and like, you don't have to try hard being in the future. You can enjoy the past too. And honestly, it really reminds me how much I miss, like, I really miss, like, old, like, punk rock and alternative and stuff, just because, like, oh dang, look at you getting 3 gold medals.
Thanks. I didn't do so bad that round.
But, they don't make music like that anymore, and
good night, Kura. Sorry, I've been meaning to say that for a while.
No, I'm sorry.
Continue.
They don't make music like that anymore, and it does suck. But also, I shouldn't keep trying to chase what's new, so that way I don't seem like I'm out of date like those people who are like, you know... I know exactly who you were talking about. I had friends in high school who were like that, where it's like, they wouldn't listen to anything that wasn't metal, and anything that was made past, like, 1995.
Yeah, basically. Though that is a part of the music crowd. And you miss out on so much if you just assume that music is not being made that's great today.
I mean, that's how I found Alt Idol, and Alt Idol was... I mean, it is still good, but it's definitely gone past its golden age. And I'm still trying to find another music movement that I feel like I fit in with, but you know, I don't feel like I have to avoid the past just because I'm looking to the future.
I enjoy video games from all eras, and I enjoy music from all eras. In all honesty. I think that it is important to enjoy and be open-minded to both. But I'm not going to pressure anyone to enjoy new music or old music. Like, Pink Floyd was before my time, but it's still great. I love Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin.
No, I hear you about, like, Nights into Dreams and other games that are old. Just, like, forget, like, getting ported. Like, where's the sequel?
Yeah, we need another Nights into Dreams. Sadly, the creator of Nights into Dreams went to jail for insider trading. We would need Nuji Naka back, I think, for more nights.
Someone else can make it. In fact, someone else probably has. Not an official Knights game, which is to an extent a good thing. One thing about sequels is they can get to the point where they're no longer a good thing. Final Fantasy avoided this problem, and Tales of avoided this problem by making it so that not every game was a direct sequel. But if you look at Metal Gear Solid, oh my god. That game... Kojima wanted that game to die. He loved Metal Gear, but he wanted that game to die. He was tired of more Metal Gear.
Thank you for keeping up with chat. It's been very talkative tonight, and I love that. Unfortunately, I've missed some.
I'm gonna give the most unpopular statement that has been made on this channel ever.
What?
I've always thought Queen was just kind of okay.
I like Queen. I don't like it as much as most people. Like, there's the type of person who loves quoting Bohemian Rhapsody, and I like Bohemian Rhapsody, but there's a lot of Queen songs that are just as good that aren't like as quotable as Bohemian Rhapsody, and I just didn't like I didn't like it as much as a lot of people did. It was kind of like Nirvana for you. It's like, I don't get the hype as much, but I enjoy it okay.
Well, you know, you actually kind of... I need to go and actually listen to the Nirvana songs you told me to listen to. Because it sounds like there is an entirely different vision of what Nirvana is to what I was able to see just as a passerby who didn't actually get into it.
I like how they all three match. That's amazing. I love that.
Right?
I like a lot of the Queen songs, but I didn't get into it as much as a lot of people did. To me, it's like, those are good songs, but they're not like ones that took over my heart.
I feel like for me, that one band that I was like really into, that it felt like a lot of people, like, they liked that one song, and then, like, didn't really get the rest of the band, or in their case, like, just, they fell off the face of the earth, was Bowling for Soup. I like Bowling for Soup because their idea is to take punk rock energy and instead of being mad, just be funny. Which I know comedy and punk rock isn't exactly a new thing, but like, they're actually just really good at it. Because it's not like just like straight comedy, it's not just straight played for laughs, it's like... I don't know, Bowling for Soup have a very unique sound and lyrics that I can't put into words. If you're looking for something deep, go elsewhere, but if you're looking for really good music and really good lyrics, just because they're not deep doesn't mean they aren't, like, really good, actually.
Alright, no one else is going for it. Let's go for it. Darn. Oh yeah, I enjoyed Weird Al as a kid. Made some good parodies of admittedly very mainstream music for obvious reasons. Because comedy often works best if you know what's being referenced. But, yeah, I listened to a bit of Weird Al as a kid. Weird Al was fun. What was that one that was like Amish Paradise? I enjoyed Amish Paradise. That was fun. And I bet you I'm a million times as humble as thou art. I'm enjoying rank decently, yeah. Still at it. It's a really slow crawl up from C-, but we're... It is glacial. It is glacial progress, but still progress. I hate that they're in the lead. That kind of sucks. Well, at least we've taken the lead. Don't know how long that's gonna last, but by a small margin, and we took the lead.
Oh no, your team is full of lead. Lead paste.
Stop invoking my phobia. That is definitely one thing that is good about me no longer living in Arkansas. Like, my life was pretty ruled by that phobia of living in a house with lead paint. It definitely got on your nerves, and I'm sorry. As you can see, I'm a lot less miserable dealing with no lead paint here. As I'm sure you're quite relieved about. I'm sorry that I got annoying about my phobia living in Arkansas.
You're fine. I mean, I'd say my first exposure to good music was just growing up with the radio when I grew up. I'd say my first foray and actual exploration into music was honestly probably a really weird pick that most people would not, like, be like, oh yeah, this was, like, the artist that was, like, foundational in who I became as a person, and that was Warren Zevon.
Oh, darn it.
Warren Zevon and Jackson Browne, and Bruce Springsteen and Neil Young, but most especially Warren. Like, the others could be hit or miss for me, but Warren Zevon just had an outlook on life that was...
Oh yeah, lead paint is very poisonous. I have overreacted to lead paint's poisonousness, but lead paint is very poisonous, especially to children, which I am not.
But I thought you were little.
I am little, so... but I am not a child. Lead paint is very poisonous. If it is ingested, it has lifelong effects on your brain health mostly. Not just brain health, but especially brain health.
My second... Can I, continue with the music?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just interrupting you, basically. Because I'm not done being dumb.
Go ahead, you be dumb.
Okay. But my second foray into music was like, Black Flag, Minor Threat, Bad Religion, Bad Brains, Circle Jerks, Dead Kennedys. And then that was around the time that I was like, I keep listening to only old music, I need to start listening to newer stuff. And so then I went back and I started listening to, like, the radio play punk rock from when I was younger. Sum 41, Bowling for Soup, Blink 182, all the stuff that people consider not real punk rock. Also, Goo Goo Dolls. Not really related, but just, like, rediscovering them because... yeah. Oh, I also forgot I listened to a lot of Irish music before then, too. Dubliners, Irish Rovers, Pogues, Schooner Fair, shit like that. What was his name? Tom... something.
Tom Petty?
No.
Oh, okay.
Talking about Irish music.
Oh, yeah.
And then after the catching up on the pop punk, I moved on to just happened to coincide with around the Midwestern emo starting to become a thing.
Darn. You're not gonna keep that lead long at this rate. Oh shoot, darn. And they're in the lead.
Yeah, Iris is their big one, which honestly, like, the more I listen to it, the more I think it's actually a really amazing song that I don't feel like a lot of people really, Iris is on the surface a love song, but honestly, I really feel like what Iris is an exploration of dissociation and dehumanization.
May I speak?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, emo existed in the 90s. Emo got its start in the early 90s and was a outpouring and offshoot of the hardcore punk scene. Like, the origin of emo is in hardcore punk music, and yes, it got its start in the early 90s around the same time as people like Nirvana started getting big. Emo started off a very obscure genre that could not compete with the popularity of the likes of grunge, but it's got its start around the same time as grunge did. But while grunge saw mainstream success, emo stayed underground.
The most popular it ever got was the Midwestern emo scene.
I am using motion controls, yes. But yeah, what emo was in the 90s doesn't sound a lot like your Fall Out Boys, in my opinion. Or your My Chemical Romances. Just my opinion.
And what do you think about the Midwestern emo?
I like it. It sounds a lot different. I haven't listened to it as much as Scrams. Or like the hardcore, harsh vocal sound with all the screaming. But I do like it. Like, I've definitely listened to a fair amount of American football and whatnot. I assume you're familiar with them.
Yes, I am.
I don't know as much about Midwestern emo as you do, but I've listened to a fair amount. Not as much as your Portraits of Past and your Orchids and stuff. Like, my favorite band of all time, potentially, but definitely my favorite emo band, is from at least 1994. When they did their self-titled album. What you doing? Oh, okay.
Now we really are being old, aren't we?
Why?
Talking about all this old stuff and like watching how music started to change and how we changed with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that is the millennial life now. I am a millennial, and so are you. We are old fogies now.
I mean, I'm cool with it. It's in terms of, like, those kinds of life experiences. There's a lot of things that I really hate about my life, but one of them really isn't the chance to experience everything I have in life in terms of art that I've been able to, you know, consume.
Thing is, I don't just enjoy and appreciate the changes of music during my own life. I love going back and exploring 70s and 60s music. Like, the Grateful Dead, way before my time. But I think the Grateful Dead are great. I've listened to a lot of old jazz and think, wow, this stuff is awesome. And I lost. I don't feel like games need to have a, era, and it's also important to understand where you are now from what came before. Like, music is a form of art. Video games are a form of art. By consuming old video games and consuming old music, you're learning more about history. Like, Space Invaders is beyond my time, but I went back and played a lot of Space Invaders to appreciate where shoot 'em ups came from.
I mean, you know that I've played plenty of old games, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Anarchy Splatfest. It's not time for anarchy. Wait, what? Oh, wait, no. I was like, wait, it's Splatfest? Splatfest isn't happening. I think I am gonna take a break to do regular Turf Wars, perhaps. I don't know.
I could say one of my favorite games I appreciate because I appreciate older games, and I appreciate the fact that it is a fresh style, or a fresh take on an old game style that's very unpopular anymore. And that's Worthlife. See, a lot of 2D side-scrolling RPGs aren't very popular anymore unless they're Metroidvanias.
Yeah, which I do enjoy Metroidvanias, but yeah, it's definitely a very represented genre, let's say. I don't really know if the accusations against Michael Jackson are true. That doesn't change the fact that his music was great. I also say that, like, whether or not he did those things, he clearly didn't have the common sense about how he would be treated spending so much time with other people's children. In a situation where people are suspicious of anyone being around kids who are not their own, especially in a non-school or a non-school or a non-nursery or babysitting situation. So even if he didn't do those things, he certainly set himself up for suspicion and didn't have the common sense not to do those things.
Which sucks.
Yeah. I also think that a lot of people targeted him because he was eccentric and sensitive. Like, he was very soft-spoken, he was very wholesome about a lot of things Michael Jackson was. Like, he loved animals, he had an inner child he was trying to get back because he was in the Jackson 5, it was hard to be a kid. And, people just assumed the worst of him because he was eccentric and he didn't act like other people. And I think that that was unfair, that people didn't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. How does this mode work?
Looks like you're trying to score stuff. You need to bring it back to get score.
Okay.
I don't know where.
Yeah, I don't know either. This mode is new to me.
Probably go read up on it then.
Yeah. Oh darn.
Oh, I guess you just...
I guess.
Didn't they ever explain this game mode to you?
Probably, and I probably, like, my eyes rolled into the back of my head and I started imagining green pastures. I don't know. I'm really, really bad at paying attention to text that's important, as you're well aware. Not football. Yeah, I don't know how this mode works. I should probably read up on it before I do more.
Oh, there's a basket up there.
So you probably want to take it to this basket.
Yeah, I figured it looks a lot like what Salmon Run is. But like a PvP Salmon Run.
But I should probably follow and protect this person who has a lot of clams.
Oh, do you score it on the other person's thing?
A Clam Blitz. So how do you play Clam Blitz, Octal? I'm curious. This is new to me, and I'm not doing whatever the objective is supposed to be, really.
I guess you're supposed to be taking to the other person's goal.
Yeah, I guess so. So it's like football in that light. I mean, it turns into a football for a time.
As they probably don't start another match until you know.
Exactly, that's what I'm planning to do. I'm planning on, you know, taking a break from this when I'm off stream, looking it up, and playing some more Turf War. Oh, you wish you knew. Yeah, I wish I knew too. It's okay. I notice it's clams that turn into a football. And how that works, I do not know. But I do know it's good to collect clams. Then I do something with the clams. And I know that we're probably gonna lose. Okay, are we gonna... No, we took the lead at the last second, Nace.
Wait?
It said that.
Wow. No, wow.
Clams can have pearls in them.
Did you want to take a break?
Can. It's already been more than 10 hours, so I am perfectly fine with that. I admit this is giving me energy on a day that I need to be awake, but so is the caffeine. Yeah, I can end stream, or do you need something else? Like to go use the bathroom and stuff?
You've been streaming for God knows how long straight. Go take a break.
What kind of break? Do you mean end stream break? Do you mean, like, bathroom?
Go get some water. Stretch.
Okay.
Bathroom.
Alright, I will go and do that.
Take care of yourself.
Okay. Yeah, it has been a while.
Maybe get something to eat.
I'm not hungry. I've already ate a lot today.
Fair enough. I don't know how I managed to put down 6 hamburgers and a ton of cheese, but...
Yeah, keyboard please. Oh, you know what? I can put up the be right back, like, little message thing. That is. So that way, you know, you can read the wait, no, you can still read the chat this way. I'm stupid. Derp derp. No Twitter account is evidence of lyrical analysis. I don't know. All I know is that I try not to assume guilt with people, and I don't know the situation with Michael Jackson. I do think that common sense usually dictates that being an adult who it's a situation that's going to be looked with suspicion. That being said, his general demeanor seemed to be eccentric but good-natured, and he made good music regardless. I'm gonna go use the bathroom. I like a lot of Michael Jackson's music. I don't know a ton about him as a person because that never interested me, but his music is good.
Also, we, like, you know, never met him.
Yeah. I mean, you've also never met Rena Hamill.
No.
Just saying, there's like degrees of interest in parasocialness.
Well, I just thought you meant like I didn't know him in terms of like being able to know whether he was guilty or innocent.
Indeed.
Sorry, I know you guys are expecting me to talk, but I ain't got shit to say.
How dare you not entertain my stream? Can't believe this.
I don't know a D's nuts joke, but I do know one of the best moons in Super Mario Odyssey is Nut Around the Corner.
Is it still beautiful outside?
Probably not the exact sereneness I was looking at, but sure.
Shame.
That was one of those sunlight at the perfect angle kind of things.
Oh, that's a shame that I missed it. So when do we go today to dog sit?
In the afternoon, around 5 o'clock.
Did you ever message neutral trauma like I asked?
No,
Okay,
because I assumed that if he wasn't in your stream, he was asleep.
I'm gonna Discord neutral trauma. It's a little late, but better late than never. He really needs to be let known a little ahead of time if possible. It's okay, I'm not upset. I'm just gonna be like, hey, neutral, I'm sorry. So what time did you say dog sitting was?
We need to go around 5 p.m. I mean, we could show up. We could show up earlier if you want to.
I mean, no. My biggest concern is how sleepy I'll be probably by then. I may have to, like, nap on the couch.
I don't know when Mom and Dad are gonna leave, but if the house is empty, they probably wouldn't be upset with us showing up, and I'm pretty sure they won't be too upset if we slept in the bed. It's the reward, it's the privilege you get as a dog sitter that you can sleep in the bed.
Bed. But, you know, bed sitting is not dog sitting. That's sleeping on the job.
That's sleeping with the dogs in the bed.
Wow, this has been a long stream. Thanks for being here for so much of it, though. I know that's not your ideal way of hanging out, but I've enjoyed you being here.
Yeah, I would prefer to do other things, but...
Well, I can end stream, and we can go do other things if you'd like.
Could we do other things on stream?
Sure, I've played a lot of Splatoon. I think this is a lot of my fill. 10.5 hours, yeah, that's a fair amount. What would you like to do?
I keep talking so much about it, I'd like to play some Worth Life.
Yeah. I'll just put this up here. default. If it comes up, what the heck? Okay, there. Julia's turn.
At this point, we're gonna have to change the name of the stream
What do you mean?
to reflect that there's like 2 people streaming on the same channel.
Okay. You mean the name of the channel itself?
Yes.
Oh.
It was a joke, Len.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if it happens enough, maybe, but...
A mine goblin? What's a mine? I mean, I imagine it's self-explanatory, but I don't know much about goblins in relation to D&D aside from the fact that they exist.
I don't know much about goblins, other than that you should kill them.
I'm now apparently Goblin Slayer.
Sure are.
What are you doing? Oh, that's right, you prefer that controller. Oopsie doopsie.
Damn right I'm gonna play with my Hori.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, brain kind of forgot. It was just like hand controller over, and I forgot that, yeah. Because I wanted motion controls.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, I hogged this thing for 11, or not 10 hours. I hogged this thing for 10 hours. It is your turn. I think that I got my fill and my fair share of your Switch.
Alternatively, I could do another Yumei run on stream.
If you want to. But I would definitely prefer to be in the correct category. And have a chance to switch over.
I'll stick to Worth Life. I wanted to play this for a minute. I hope you don't mind if you do most of the talking.
That's fine. I like the character designs, they're cute. Eee, the cute blonde girl. Thank you for participating in my long stream and hanging out despite it not being your ideal. So mad. Smug, huh? The crystals. Oh my god, Final Fantasy. If they got crystals, it's Final Fantasy.